And so here's the thing, and I've kind of like, and you know this, and other people who've been listening to me last year, like I'm increasingly immersed in Hegel. I've come back to Hegel for the first time or whatever.
Sure.
And for Hegel, the death of God has already happened. And for Nietzsche as well.
Sure.
I want to come back to that. But so for Hegel, not for individuals as such, but in history, in our science, in our humanities, like if the event has happened.
Yeah.
And I want to touch on that because in a sense, if you imagine if there's a fundamentalist, you think you're certain.
Yeah.
Because you're young and everybody around you agrees with you. And so you think you're right.
Yeah.
And then one day, as a teenager, you encounter someone smarter than you who disagrees with you and has all of these better arguments than you. You have two options. That event has happened. You are now decentered, destabilized.
Yeah.
You can either go into it and go, oh, yeah, that's interesting. I've got to rethink things.
Yeah.
Or you can close your ears and go and start reading Josh McDowell and throw yourself into certainty and whatever. But the certainty that comes after that event is different from the certainty that came before it.
Sure.
And one of the textures is the certainty that comes after it is you get really angry when people disagree with you.
Yeah.
You don't like to be around difference. You're obsessed with reading people who agree with you. Yeah. You create new purity cultures. I want to get into that. Actually, we live in new purity cultures of like only wanting to be around people who think like us and act like us and look like us. And if Hegel is right, the point of the 20th century and the reason why we have totalitarian leaders like Stalin or whatever is precisely because that's a reaction formation. Historically, we're now in the era of a non-divided other. We know it. We don't know it consciously. This is why Lacan says God is unconscious. We don't know it consciously, but unconsciously we know there is no undivided other.
Sure.
Like that is in everything, in the art, in the history, in the literature, in the science.
Yeah.
But we deny the reality.
Yeah.
By the way, Nietzsche, as you know, says, after the Buddha died, it is said that the shadow of the Buddha remained on a cave wall for thousands of years.
Yeah.
We must not only get rid of God, but must also get rid of the shadow of God. Yeah. And the shadow of God is the unconscious God, commodity fetishism, et cetera, et cetera. So, also all of this is that the event has happened. We are in denial of it. So we see totalitarianism. And the issue with totalitarianism is it's never totalitarian enough. There always has to be someone who's excluded from the total.
Sure.
So there is the scapegoat, the figure of the Jew within fascism. So totalitarianism is an attempt to deny the divided nature of reality. Yeah. But it can never do it. It always has to have a scapegoat. And so all of this is to say that we don't have to... And this is the point of parotheology. Yeah. We actually don't have to get to the point of the death of God. It's already happened. That's why I was talking about primal agony. It's already occurred. Yeah. We just have to get the point where we can symbolize the real of it. We can put it into symbolic. That's the 21st century. Yeah. If the 19th century is the death of God and the 20th century is the denial of the death of God, the 21st century is the confrontation with it and then the God beyond God.